And then if Mike is ready, we can go to Mike early if you'd like.
I don't know if I'll be able to totally fill an hour, but I'll give it a try. I'm going to depend on other Mike for a little bit, I think, too. He seems to be carrying a lot of us through our hours.
I'm not even here, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to go drink more beer. I'll be back in like an hour. We good?
Yeah, so I'm really happy that so many people, chimed in for this, and someone just mentioned that they wanted me to be a part of it, and then Ben reached out to me. So there's like a lot of people on this global denim hang as like a whole that have been around since long before I got into this industry. So to kind of be on here with them is really crazy. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about my brand, and then there's a bunch of stuff that has come up over the day. I've been like at my shop all day, cleaned up a bit, and then patterning for some of fall stuff. So I've had this on in the background all day. So there's some stuff I wanted to talk about that has come up in other people's talks, and so I'm gonna go over some of that. But yeah, I put together like a small little photo album of some of the train riding stuff from pre-Encampmentco. So in short, I was born in San Francisco and moved to Phoenix, Arizona when I was I think like 12, and then after I got out of high school, I moved to Wyoming, and I kind of bounced back and forth between Phoenix and Wyoming for a long time. And I got my degree in biochem. And then right when I finished my degree, I decided that I was going to sell everything that I owned. And I kept a few crates of stuff in storage at my mom's house. And I hopped freight trains around the United States and rode in boxcars with other dirty hobos for a while. And I did that off and on for about for 2 years, I would say, in total, and still do it every now and then. But it was sort of during that time that I met a guy who he's in one of the slides, and his vest that I'm going to talk about is in one of the slides as well. But he used to go dumpster fabric out of the Filson dumpsters in outside the Filson factory, and he would pull it all out of the dumpster, and he would take it all back to his place, and he would make his own clothes, and he'd sell them to other train riding kids, and that was how he made his, like, kind of got by. So when I was looking at it, him and I had the same like domestic sewing machine, and I was like, I could do that. And I got back to Wyoming, and I was talking to this friend, and he's like, you should do that as business. And I think that he just like didn't really think that I would take it seriously, but I just ran with it. And that was who was it? Who was on earlier with 100 sewing machines? His name escapes me. Starts with a V. He's in Toronto.
Ben from Via Piana.
Yeah, Via Piana or something. Yeah. It was like I didn't have like the story that he had. I had one sewing machine, and I kind of knew how to use it. And I was, very naive about what you could really do, like what you needed different machines for. So I started by buying one walking foot Juki machine, and then, I was living in this cabin on a mountainside in Wyoming, and I slowly accumulated more and more machines. And next thing you know, I had 13 machines in like my half of the cabin that wasn't my roommates, and like they were leaking oil on the carpet, and he was not thrilled about it. So I moved into town and moved into this warehouse, and that was where Encampment really started to like grow, where I could set up all my machines at one time instead of like what I used to have to do is I would have to swap the heads off the tables to be able to use different machines. And it was just sort of this nightmare. And in the winter, it was like this almost 100-year-old cabin, and it would just like be freezing cold when you woke up because the wood stove would go out and you'd see your breath, and it was just like not ideal. So I moved into town and moved into this huge warehouse who this crazy dude named Bull owned it. And I actually have like a picture of him. I'm going to do like a quick shop tour in a minute. I'll show you a photo of Bull. But he was like this massive, like 6'5", which over 2 meters, and just a huge guy. And he rented me a shop, but in his spare time, he would do stuff like blow up toilets in the back of the warehouse with dynamite and stuff like that. And then he made his own moonshine, and he would start his hot rods with it in the middle of the night. And like he was just this like complete psychopath, and he eventually got arrested, and I moved to a new warehouse. But so I moved into this other warehouse in Wyoming, and this is kind of like the clothing style of train riding kids. So those are my Red Wing boots that I picked up in a thrift store for $15. Those are steel toe, I don't know, super old Red Wings. I thought Mike Bandy would like that photo, some old Red Wing, because he loves those.
I like all your photos, dude. The fact that you're doing it with film is honestly pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome, man. It's really dope.
So yeah, there was like, you see like the stitching on the inside on her inseam, that's all floss. So a lot of times train riders, since like sewing with just regular thread is like cumbersome and takes forever, a lot of train riding people will sew up all their clothes and patches with just dental floss. This is just Central Oregon somewhere. This is what I would ride with. So this is like an old Alice pack. I bet Charles knows a thing or two. Charles and his lady know a thing or two about Alice packs. And there's like literally everything I owned was in that. My sleeping bag was somewhere in the corner or something. This is another guy, just, you'd sit in the corner of the boxcar so you wouldn't get spotted. You get spotted by the railroad people that pull you off a lot of the time. So you just kind of like catch this kind of like angled view of things that pass you by. And like a lot of the train riding people travel with these buckets because they function as like waterproof containers and good seat when you need one. This is my friend Helen and her golden retriever. And this dog did not like riding trains. It was like, we had to carry that dog through the train yards at night and stuff. It was just like, it was too scared. I felt so bad for it. This is my friend with the vest. So this was the guy, you can't really see the vest in this photo, but like, he's like one of the most incredible people. He's like an amazing artist, and he's like hopped freight trains like all across the world, really. Like he's ridden up into Canada, all the way down, and as far as you can go south in Mexico. And one of the toughest dudes I ever met. And he would sew in his spare time and sell jackets to other train riding kids with stuff he dumpstered out of the Filson dumpsters. This is my friend Jack, who we caught this boxcar ride through from Eugene going back down to Dunsmuir. And it was like we went through the entire Cascade Range at sunset, which was really epic. And it was probably one of the most memorable train rides I've ever been on, because we had this like big, extra tall, double open boxcar where we got to really like see everything on either side of us in this way that you don't really always get in a boxcar, where usually it's just one side open. So we got to like just sit, and since it was at nighttime, through the Cascade Range where there's nobody, we got to sit in the middle of the boxcar and just like really enjoy the scenery.
Hey, Mike, what lens were you using for that last shot?
This was this extra wide angle lens that I got that I've not been able to find anywhere else. It's like I want to say that it's like 15 to 35 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good and wide. It's really nice. It's great for a shot like that where you're trying to show all the angles of the boxcar you're riding in. It's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I tried to, I shoot vertical a lot, so, but a lot of this stuff lends itself to like horizontal, like this shot, which is, we were pulling into Dunsmuir at this point, and you can kind of see on the back of her denim vest that she embroidered an entire eagle with thread. That's sort of the stuff you do when you're like waiting for trains and stuff. You have like lots of time to be creative. and that's it. So yeah, that's sort of like the photo tour of like some of my train riding.
So Mike, my girlfriend had a question. What camera are you using for all these photos?
So that was an old Canon 35 millimeter AE1.
AE1. That's what everyone has an AE1, dude. Go to your closet. If you don't think you have a film camera, go to your closet. Look in the back of your closet.
Yeah,
You're gonna have a Canon AE1.
yeah, and it's gonna still work. Yeah, it's gonna work perfectly, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's the thing.
awesome,
Like, I mean, like,
I just want to say real quick, you know, one of the cool things about Mike is not just that he makes really cool stuff, but that he's got this incredible history of riding trains, which I didn't even really understand was a thing until I started talking to him, and the photography that goes along with it. You know, talk about, you know, everyone in the denim community having more than just denim as a hobby or as something that they aspire to, or something that they focus on. You know, I'm a photographer as well. I do landscape photography, and when Mike talked to me about how he rides trains and he's done photography while riding trains, I thought that was really amazing and really kind of cool, and something that, you know, we both like denim and canvas and heritage workwear and you know, stuff like that, but to find that photographic connection as well was really neat. And Mike's, you know, Mike's photography is pretty damn cool. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Nick, my mom's trying to say hi to you. Sorry, this is my friend Nick, who's, and Anka's there too. So Anka and Nick kind of developed my style a lot to begin with. And Nick is the one who's, I don't know if he knows it, but he's the one whose denim vest I have. I have his big E Levi's vest that you're not going to get back. But and Anka worked as a tailor at a custom suit shop and for Brooks Brothers for years, and kind of was my guiding light when it came to understanding style and like the industry. You know, kind of when I was a kid, going into the custom shop in San Francisco and like just seeing the racks of different fabrics and like all the tailors that were in there. And I remember going in there with Nick and Anka, or Nick and his dad, and we'd go visit Anka there, you know, in that narrow shop. But yeah, so I'm going to give a quick tour of my shop because I'm super proud of it and all the weird stuff I have in it. So this is going to be shaky, so buckle up. So recently, when I moved to Arizona, I acquired this big sign. So that's my big adult video sign that I literally went and was just like, I told this guy who's closing down a business that I was going to get some contractors to take his old sign down. And then I just went up with all my climbing gear and a friend and just unbolted it. So I was just like, that's mine now. So these are some of my machines. These are like my main workhorses. Is that one that one on the side? I got my ironing station. I've got patterns just kind of everywhere. And my machines vary in age from, I don't have my super old ones anymore, so I've only got ones from the 50s to the 70s. But yeah, so this old waistbander came from a prison, and it's got like the engraved, hold on, let's see, it's hard to do this. The kind of like engraved numbers on the top of it. It's like super great. I love like that. And then of course, like the feet off the arm machine is like a classic for denim for the felt stitching. My favorite thing in my shop is like my ridiculous thread collection, which like spans like that, plus like some boxes. Oh shit, I'm caught. And then I've got my newest machine. This is from the 90s, actually. This is a 42 stitch bar tacker, which is like the essential bar tacker for your like denim. Like it's hard to explain. There's like two types of, oh, sorry, wait, one last thing. And that was what I would embroider waiting for trains and stuff. So I did that.
Badass, dude. You need to put that on a jacket.
I've been thinking about it. It's like not totally done. Hold on. But everyone on the call this morning was like talking about embroidery, and I was like, "Oh, I embroidered something once," but I actually have it like tattooed on me too. But
I mean, that could be a special one-off. You know,
I really want an embroidery machine really bad, but they're like the Singer, like the original Singer chain stitch embroidery machines are like $3,000, and even the clones are like super expensive. But yeah, so that's kind of like my shop. I've got like not like Via Piana Denim, but he has like 100 machines throughout his shop. And I counted while he was doing his count. I counted 25, so I got some ways to go. But I'm not
he's
trying
been
to.
doing it. He's been doing it a number of years longer than you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's sort of like my shop and like my kind of what I do. When I started the business, I like really only wanted to sew clothing. And this is where I'm going to go into the stuff that I messaged a bunch of people and told them what I wanted to talk about, what I was going to talk about. I took notes and everything. Was that like when you start a small business, you think like, I'm just going to sew, right? Like I'm just going to sew jeans and I'm going to sew jackets and people are going to buy them and that's my business. But like you have accounting, which I don't do very well. You have website building, you have customer service, you have sales, you have social media. And like these are all full-time jobs. And having to do all that sort of stuff all myself has just been like, it got very overwhelming really quick. And I think that in the previous talk where people were talking about, mental health and things like that, was my mental health declined a lot a couple years into this brand where I was struggling to grow the brand. I was in a place where I wasn't really happy. And I wasn't taking care of myself in any way. And I had a moderate breakdown right after Black Friday where I had this huge fabric order go wrong and people waiting on orders. And I know CMB, like you guys, you deal with customers and stuff. I don't know how many other makers there are on this chat, but when you have customers waiting on orders, it doesn't feel good. And when it's your own brand, you take it very personally. And that being able to like manage that mental health side of being a brand was not something I had initially addressed. And that's why there have been like a lot of rewarding things about people who have, positive reviews, when stuff gets sent out, like is amazing. I would always tell the story about for the first year I had my business, every time I sent a jacket out, I would wait for them to request to return it. And like, I lived like that for a year with every single order. Was like just this idea that the stuff that I was making was like not good enough for the people that were buying it. And it took me a really long time. And it actually took me, I won't name any brand names, but I went down and competitor shopped a bunch of people's brands. And I was like, oh, wait, no, I make great stuff, which was like a really big moment for me. So it's been like a journey as far as being not just like someone who like I really enjoy sewing and designing, but the challenge of owning a brand is just like next level. And it has been like quite an adventure going from I own one machine and I'm going to make jackets to repairing jeans for over or just like repairing machines for over 2 years before I even launched the brand. I'd buy these machines online for, there's this guy online who sells them basically by the pound, I feel. And he actually kicked me out of his warehouse earlier this year in LA. But he like takes these photos and just posts them online. and he doesn't tell you anything about the machine, if it works or not. And you just say, I want that one, and he just ships it to you. And it's as is, you can't return them. So that's how I've got all my machines, is like I would buy one machine and be missing a part. So I'd have to go back to him and buy a whole second machine to get parts from it for the first one. And I spent, hours doing that, just like reading through engineering manuals on repairing sewing machines. And now I feel like I can repair any of these machines like in the dark. And knowing that they all sew perfectly is what I'm all about. It's kind of, it takes like the edge off of knowing that like I know my skill well enough, I can deliver. I feel good about telling people that what they're buying from me is good. It is going to be quality and it's going to last you. So
I think knowing what you know now is going to be key and essential for your growth, going forward. Because when you first started, it was like, I'm going to do this thing and it's awesome and I'm really excited about it, but you didn't really know how well it was going to work out, and I think that, reaching out to people who are going to have confidence in you and who did have confidence in you helped. And then obviously just the growth you've shown by yourself with what you've done, new designs that you've made, growing into the denim and canvas pants, things like that. Like, you're killing it, dude. So you should take a moment, reflect, and consider, like, dude, you're doing good. For a one-man maker, you're killing it,
Yeah, it's a tough job.
It's a tough job, but you're killing it. And you got, the nice thing about this community, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but the nice thing about this community is that you have good resources now. Via Piana, he's got a bunch of machines he's willing to sell here and there. If you need good machines, he has good machines. You don't have to go to like some rando who's going to give you some crappy machine, make you buy another one for parts. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's developing relationships within the community, and there are a lot of people in this community who are definitely not just in it for themselves, and that's one of the things I like. Charles is all about community, and that's why I love Charles. He's all about the betterment of all, not just the betterment of Charles. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for growth for any community, but especially for one like we're all in, like denim and heritage goods. So I dude, you're doing great. You should be very proud of yourself and where you've gotten and where you've come from.
You got to do one of them, man. Sometimes you gotta pat yourself on the back, man. Like, and I did what Mike said, man. Like, and I'm not a maker all the way yet, like you are. So I admire the things that you're doing, man. And I know firsthand, just from all the other 15 jobs of running a brand, like how that can get, man. Like, and it's freaking rough, man. And when you're juggling family and orders and social media and marketing and everything, man, it's tough. But the one thing I did learn, and I'm going to be in the mentee side as I'm continuing to watch you grow, the one thing I did learn is that it has to be a balance, and you are the one that creates the balance, and the community will support your balance. Period. That's it. That new business model that you create is based around your sanity and your mental health and your physical health. Period. And then everything else comes after that, because the products that you make are freaking awesome, and people will wait for them.
At the end of the day, you can do as good as you can do, but if you're not mentally happy, what's the point, right?
Yeah, and like to start something and then to have grown into it and still be satisfied by doing it. My view on it has changed about like its role in my life. And when you start a business, you think it's going to be this giant grand thing, and then you kind of like becomes a part of you in a different way than you expected. And learning to just accept that for what it is and enjoy it has made it a lot more of a positive experience in my life, where it's like, I can't imagine not having my sewing machines anymore. Like it's like a weird like thought, like the idea of selling them would be devastating. But a couple things I wanted to talk about that were brought up in like previous talks, especially because Mike, we were talking about the double XL and other sizes, and I like from the manufacturing standpoint, the reason why I and brands like me are able to do things like, oh, I can make a one-off 3XL. You know, I've sold 2 of the 3XLs, and like the reason why I can do that is because I don't have to put in an order to a manufacturer and tell them how many I'm going to need. And if I don't sell them, I have to discount them and get rid of them and get whatever I can back. I can just be like, look, these 2X and 3X are made to order, and I hope you order them, and I'll always have them. And there's like a higher turnaround time, whereas like a bigger brand is gonna like struggle to be like to forecast that sizing. And I think that like you can tell anybody that you talk to about it that I say that I sell as many double XLs as I do smalls, hands down. And
yeah, no, I totally feel you there. I think it's a different business model from somebody who basically, you know, manufactures on their own, or you know, like you or Ben or Eric or even Steven over at Railcar who manufactures in-house. It's a different business model. You can, you know, the sky's kind of the limit. You can do whatever you want because it's your warehouse, it's your factory, it's your machines, it's your personnel, it's your hours, it's your money. Yeah. Whereas I think Charles can comment on this. You know, if you outsource to a factory to do manufacture, it's a different ballgame. You have to balance, you know, you have to balance the money you're spending on product design, on leg grading, you know, creating patterns and things like that. And then in a minimum order to make it cost effective. You can't just order 1 or 2 because they're going to charge you up, you know, crazy amounts. You have to order a decent amount. If you order a decent amount and don't sell them, so it's a risk. It's mitigating that risk factor that makes it difficult for brands to branch out into larger sizes. So yes. While I appreciate that you did it anyway, I know it's slightly less of a risk for you than, for example, for Charles, who has actually gone up to, I think, Charles, you did a 44, right? You went up to 44.
Yeah, we went up to 44.
Yeah, so I mean, that's saying something, especially considering Charles is outsourcing to a factory and has to have a minimum order to do that cost effectively. You know, so I appreciate everybody who's willing to go that extra mile and to put that effort into making larger sizes. And I think you guys do a great job. Both of you do a great job of trying to accommodate everyone. And I think that's really what it's about, is trying to make something that everyone can appreciate and everyone can enjoy and everyone can wear.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, I was talking to, I am sure, Mike, that you know of this person, and probably Charles too, OK Denim Co.
Yeah,
Bryce, she's on right now.
Yeah?
She's on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I have been trying to hawk machines to Bryce because I want them to succeed. Not like I have machines I want to get rid of, but it brought me to this point that, you know, as I watch other people's talks, I've wanted to chime in and like talk to all these other makers about stuff. Like I sent a message to Joe and Co earlier during the chat, and Ben read it to him, and he talked about it briefly about, you know, what is the landscape of this industry like, because he's been in it forever. You know, he was in it in the 80s, and what's it like now with social media and the difference between that. It kind of got me to this point where I felt like I didn't know if I wanted to chime in on other people's talks and ask them these questions as like another maker, because I don't know how they see other makers, because their outlook might be different than mine. From where I'm at, like especially in this smaller range, everyone that's in my, like the competition of people who I would compete with, who's Amos from Grease Point Workwear was on earlier. Like he is technically like strong, like serious competition. We are in the same social media followers range, same product range. You know, we offer similar things. But the thing is that creating a positive experience for customers is what makes the community as like a whole feel like they can buy from a business small like mine. If I give them a positive experience, it makes them believe that if they go to OK Denim Co., that they're also going to have a good experience. And if they go to Grease Point Workwear and they have a good experience, they feel comfortable coming to me thinking that they'll have that same good experience. And that's kind of always how I've looked at other brands, is that we, by my competition succeeding, that I will also succeed, because they're providing this experience that is positive for other customers and for people, where they realize like these are people worth buying from, that the quality is good, and that is out there, and that they can also get that from me. And so I really like talking to other people who'd like to talk about sewing machines and manufacturing and stuff like that. Yeah, Bryce especially, because I kind of want everyone to do well. Not just because it helps me, but because like it's nice to also like nerd out and talk to Bryce about like the splitting back seams and jackets and stuff, you know, like those is fun for me. And being able to kind of grow a community of people that are makers as well, more than just like the hangouts and stuff, has been really beneficial to me, to feel like this is actually a community of people. But like in the beginning, like Steven at Railcar was like my biggest influence. I've still never reached out to him, and I've heard he's like the nicest dude, and like all I want to do is talk to him about sewing machines.
Steven is a nice dude. He's a very busy and very scatterbrained kind of guy. If you reached out to him, honestly, it'd be like a 50-50 if he'd even get back to you. Not because he's a dick, just because he's just so scatterbrained. But if you came to the shop, if you like came out to LA and I brought you over to meet Steven, he'd nerd out with you like crazy. He's just one of those people who's just, he has 50 ideas and they're always going through his brain, and that's literally all he thinks about. I think what you said about everybody succeeding means everybody succeeds. I mean, that's really kind of putting it plainly, but you know, the more successful Bryce is, the more successful you'll be. And the more successful you are, the more successful Bryce will be. I think that makes a big difference. And I think it stretches across the board, from denim to, you know, I have friends in the leatherworking community like Isaac at Pigeon Tree Crafting, and, you know, Jess to an extent at Poor Will Way, who does actually clothing and bags and stuff like that as well, but also leather goods. And Shane, who was on here earlier, has leather work called Heritage Hide. You know, I know all these leather workers, and the same goes for them. They really want each other to succeed, because success for one means success for another. There's not a competition in terms of who makes the best stuff. It's, do we all make good stuff? Yes. Great. Let's all make good stuff and be cool about it.
Yeah.
Cool. You know?
I will say that I 100% agree that there's plenty of room within all of this for all of us to succeed. We all have our own ideas. We're all doing our own thing. I love talking about the nerdy stuff, and it's exciting to be able to get with somebody and talk about that stuff that the people in your everyday life don't care about and don't really want to hear, need to hear. And it's really neat to be able to talk to somebody about that, and that then you're excited about their brand. I'm excited about Encampment as much as I am about OK, because your stuff is different than mine. I can be just as excited. I can be just excited about Poor Will. Like, I'm excited about all of it because it's all cool, and we're all doing, as much as it's falling into the same niche of things, we're all doing totally different stuff. And that idea of, if one of us is more successful, we all are, because you meet one small brand and you have a good experience in it. It builds you up, and you say like, oh, cool, I can trust small brands. And if these people like each other, I'm going to trust their judgment. Like, I got a good jacket from them, I'm going to trust their judgment if they're friends with this person, that they're also making a quality thing. And that's part of the community and how we build each other up. And yeah, it's nice to be able to be a part of that where everyone is excited for everyone else to succeed, which isn't every community. That's not how it always is.
Yeah. So, Ben, did you get some sleep?
Not quite. I just sort of dozed and just listened. I was kind of sat back like this and just looked up at the ceiling, and then spent 20 minutes trying to catch a fly, which I still can't catch, and it is dry.
I think I saw it.
Yeah, can you see it?
I swear I saw it for a second.
Yeah, this room's so dark that it kind of blends into walls. It's driving me absolutely crackers.
Okay, so Ben, I have a question that I have to ask you, and it's not necessarily Denim related. Can you do an American accent?
Yeah. I can do an American accent if if they were born in America, lived in Newcastle for 5 years.
Oh, are you a Newcastle fan too?
And I flew over to Spain, spent 20 years in Australia, then came back to America. I could probably do that, and it'd go something like, "Good eye, mate." I am the worst accent in the world.
I was so excited all day that I was going to be able to ask you that.
That has followed me around all my life, my terrible accents. I've got to a point now where I stop even trying.
It's definitely not terrible.
Yeah.
But I do say, if I say it were for something, it were, I'm like, that's Ben.
Yeah.
It were.
Yeah.
It were is a very common phrase for you.
Yeah, it is. That is true. I am a creature of habit and a very northern English.
No, I love it. I think your accent's great, man.
At least people understand it.
Also, it's not an accent for you; it's an accent for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just talking.
Yeah, definitely. I could, when me and Joe and Co were on earlier, I could see us both slipping further into this.
Yeah, it got thick during Joe and Co.
Yeah, it was like slipping into this really sort of northern English accent. I had to sort of snap us out of it at a few points.
felt like we were watching Train Spotting for about 5 seconds.
Yeah. Dear me. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Now that kind of went on for a long time. I've also been doing these recently. I have this thing about making everything myself. So I've been doing all the jeans labels and screen printing them all myself. So these are all 4 to 6 ounce veg tan leather. And I design these labels, and then I sent them to I get the screen made, and then I screen print them all in the garage. So I make these all myself now too. So that's like the most recent addition to the denim line. All the jackets and denim, I'll get the screen print leather with this super hardcore ink that will not come off.
I mean, I'm ordering a pair tomorrow.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Bottom line.
Really cool.
But yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, what do you got in the works? New design?
I have a new. I wanted to do a black jeans this year, black denim jeans. That's sort of in the lineup, but I already do the black denim jacket, so I've been searching for the right material. And that has sort of taken a back burner. They're going to be more of a straight cut, which is kind of what I'm into right now. Nick, who's on the call, is actually my like test model for most of my jeans. And he compared a pair of the prototype to a pair of his beloved 501s and gave me some critiques. So I also want to expand my jean sizing up to fit you, Mike. So that's also a plan for this.
I mean, I wasn't going to give you a hard time on this Zoom chat, but yeah, you should probably do that.
I've been slacking. I have. Here. I think that the denim community.
Those are direct messages where I'm like, so Mike, we had a really good Zoom chat. Why do you only go up to 38?
Well, it's like I don't have a lot of friends in person here in Arizona. So like I don't have a lot of people that I can like test them out to. So it's like always a big shipping process. But I just need to do it.
I get you. No, we'll do it. We'll make it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I'm curious from, I guess,
Hey, Nick, really quick.
Yeah.
You see Hannah on the call? That's my
Yeah. Oh, hi, Hannah.
That's Nick.
Nice to see your face. So
Anyway.
my question resides in I'm an extremely visually driven person, and in terms of a product that I find myself drawn to, I know it within a millisecond if I'm all in or not, and I also know if there's something, especially with a pair of denim, something will pop out as being like, okay, this is not quite it. They just missed the mark, and for me, that can even reside in the wrong color stitching versus the color of the fabric itself. It really can make or break something for me. I'm curious, when you are making or conceptualizing your own product, is there something as minute as the stitching, that really trips you up? Like, what's the hardest thing to put the nail on there for you?
I actually have like a tendency to err on like the side of caution a lot of times with stitching. There's like a lot of, especially with the jackets, like when I learned it with the jackets, where if the stitching is too prominent on a lot of the jackets, you look sort of like the landing strip of like an airport at night, you know? It's just like
Right.
blasting orange out of nowhere, and it's just like a little too visually overwhelming. Whereas jeans, you don't really have that problem. There's not as much top stitching that you can see
Sure.
other than back pockets.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it was what I do in my patterning process when I'm fitting new jeans. I actually have second quality denim that I'll sew off, and that's usually where I experiment with different thread combinations as far as what do I want for top stitching threads. You know, I could like throw it into Adobe Illustrator or something like that, but it's not the same as like seeing it made.
Right.
I'm not a very good, like, I know you're always really good at sort of like visualizing things, how you want them to look, whereas I need to make it first and see if what I made is what I want. And usually I don't make that decision until I've made it. So that was like the way that the wax canvas jacket design came about, was that I had this idea and I sketched it out, but the sketch looked nothing like it ended up turning out. And I love how it turned out, like the big two front pockets and the chest pocket. And it really, it didn't come together for me until I made it in full, you know, like the waistband is the last piece to go on. And even without the waistband on it, I wasn't sold until the waistband went on it. And I was like, that's it. It's perfect. That's what I want to make. And I've stuck with that.
You definitely nailed it with that, man, especially that wax canvas. I've seen many variations on a theme with the jacket of that conceptual quality, but I feel especially where the pockets are, the collar down to the buttons and whatnot, you know, I really believe in less is more, and you really kind of, it's tricky. There's a fine line with playing with simplicity, where you either got it or you don't. And I really think you nailed it with that jacket. So props, man.
And I think that like I've always really enjoyed like a more simple style. And I think that like that is actually like more of the like Northern California, San Francisco aesthetic of clothing, is this more simple design, not like letting that, like the simplicity of it do the work and not trying to blow it over the top with design elements. And I think that I got that from sort of the way that you dressed, especially because it was kind of representative of a lot of like the native San Franciscans way of dress, especially like skateboard, like SF local skateboarding scene is like that simple but obviously purposefully dressed community.
You know, and it's interesting because I think having started with that, which has always been a running thing and a running theme for me, you know, being a skateboarder, being a graffiti artist, all these things, you know, you don't want bells and whistles, you know, you don't want all the extras. You want to be low key, understated. And I also find it interesting that, at least personally, I can see an item and almost estimate exactly where demographically an item came from. You can know when something's more of like East Coast New York or even LA, you know what I mean? Northern California, like you mentioned, definitely has its own thing going on. So it's interesting to see you take little bits and pieces from here and there and make it your own, which I think you succeeded in for sure.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, not to like create too obvious of an analogy, but in a way it is a lot like the accents, you know? And I think with the rise of social media and with the it being easier to travel around and move around, you know, accents are diminishing, and the same with style is sort of blending together more and more. That it is, there is less regional distinction between a lot of things, and I think that in like the denim community, there is a lot of diversity, and it is very interesting to see kind of how different brands represent themselves in that sort of way. Sort of like there are certain brands that will kind of like blow it out the top, and people love that. And that's just not something that I personally would wear, and that's not something that I want to make. Then, you know, I make stuff that I want to wear, that I would want to like give to my friends, and that's like really high on my list of priorities of what I think is important in the stuff that I make. So
Cool.
I've just got a quick question for you, Mike. It's regards production. You know, when you're making your wax canvas in-house, your jacket, do you have to change the tension on your sewing machines or anything from when you're doing denim? Because we once sampled, well, we sampled a jacket called the Van Zyl, which we made from wax canvas. And we had to get it done elsewhere because where we got his jeans made, he said his machines would mark the fabric, you know, like sort of like leave a track line because it was wax canvas. And I just wondered how you got around that.
So the feet off the arm, especially in the waistbander, they have this puller on them that is ribbed with teeth. And it's not like sharp pointy teeth, it's like a long horizontal tooth. It's sort of like the feed dog on the bottom that reaches up and grabs it and pulls it through. It'll leave a mark. But the way that I have the machine set up, I don't really mess around with anything. It's not the thread tension so much as like the puller wheels that pull it through that have the teeth. That tension is set so that it'll allow like a super dense piece through very easily. But when it's like a narrow piece, it'll still give enough pressure. Like it's really hard to describe like the way that the pressure setup is from it. But yeah, the machines do leave marks on the jackets. And when I first started, I was like, that's like, you just can't do that. But it is just sort of like a feature of the jacket. And if you have the teeth set up just right, the marks that they make usually will like kind of rub out and become nothing during shipping. Like a light change in temperature will cause that wax to like re-melt a little bit.
Yeah, interesting. Just something that I've always wondered, and it was just where you're saying that you made them in-house, that was all. I just wondered if you had to basically mess around with all your machines every time you wanted to do, you know, a load of your wax jackets.
Yeah, so there are definitely some things that have to be done differently with the wax canvas. It's sort of like the wax canvas that I use. So British Millerain out there does a really good job of having a wet wax canvas where the wax is really embedded deep into the fabric, whereas our Texan wax kind of sits more on the surface. So what happens is the wax really gets into my sewing machines, and every now and then I have to like scrape the wax out, especially if I've just done like a huge run of wax canvas and I'm going to do like denim afterwards. Like I have to clean the machines out. but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just like an absolute nightmare with the wax canvas, but with the weight that I use, it's not so bad.
Cool, very cool, very cool. We're coming into the last 5 minutes, so I don't know if anybody's got any last minute questions. I've had a message off Samurai Jeans, so we're going over to Japan in 5 minutes. They're geared up and ready to start their time slot. Anybody got any last words for Mike, or is Mike, have you got any last words, sir?
I just want to say great job, Mike. You really killed it, dude. And I really enjoyed seeing the photos. I know I've seen a few of them before just in chatting with you, but you really got to make a book or something of that, dude, and your experiences hopping trains, because that's something that I think is 100% you.
Yeah.
And brings a unique perspective to what you do as a one-man maker, clothing maker. So definitely something with that for sure. And yeah, let's chat soon.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta get in touch with you about some jean sizing soon. So
sure,
we will.
Can I add something?
Hey, Anka.
Hi, guys. You have to understand that whatever piece of article I've seen that Mikey made, what really thrives, it's obvious to me right away, is the quality of the workmanship. Why are you laughing?
So everyone, Anka's known me since I was born. So
yes.
She's right.
So what? No, but come on, guys. I was in a business for 42 years in a custom clothing, and I dealt with my customers were people who money was not, a problem. And what I've learned throughout, all my career is that quality of making things. You have wonderful idea about the fabrics and the shape of it. But I hope that all you guys are going to think, because when people come into the store, they're getting a little bit well educated when it comes to quality. And I'm saying it's even people who, like in my opinion, and in my business, the techies, they didn't want to dress the way I design clothes at Brooks Brothers and so on, but they did wanted the quality, and that matters. That's all.
Thank you, Anka.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I got. I'm excited to hear Samurai Jeans talk. Their stuff's unreal.
Yeah, it should be really good fun, really good fun.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for putting this on, for reaching out to me to do it. I started this brand and I would cruise Samurai Jeans, their website, and look at their stitch details to learn how to sew. That was kind of, so to be looking at them as they're pointing at the screen is hilarious to me. This is on another level for me. So thank you guys for staying up, you and Amanda.
No problems at all. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks Mike for that last hour. Just to remind everybody that we are recording all these sessions. So if you jumped in halfway through, or if you didn't get to see it all, they will all be up on the Global Denim Man YouTube within the next couple of weeks, so you can watch them all again if you want. Thanks to everybody that's been involved so far. If you are watching on the YouTube stream, please press like and subscribe. It does help us get up the ranks, so people will come across the stream that probably weren't expecting to, which is also very cool. If you don't know already, there is a rug raffle, as we've been calling it, to raise money for Save the Children, that we run alongside this event, because everybody puts the time into it for free, and so it'd be nice if we can raise a little bit of money for some kiddies that are a little bit less fortunate. And you can buy tickets for the raffle over on, if you go to my profile, which is Clovercam on Instagram, the link's in my bio. It's £10 a ticket, and we're on 210 tickets so far. So it is building, it is building. Right now it's time for me to pass over to a gentleman called Dave, who's jumped on board and been part of the Global Denim Hang team for this event. Dave is based out in Japan, and he has got two great slots set up over the next 3 hours. The first one being with Samurai, as you can see him there, and then he's going to do a 40-minute drive, or TCBs on, and he's going to do it again with Full Count. So we've got a good 3 hours coming up.